Given that you run so many different championships, last year must have been a bit challenging. So tell us how you've been coping.
Well, it was challenging, wasn't it? We were lucky that the cars played quite well for us, and we ended up picking up the award for the best historic event with the RAC award. So we're very chuffed with that. But it took a lot of time and effort. So invariably, we had the competitors wanted to compete. Of course, the circuits. We found it actually a lot easier than we thought it was going to be, especially with the Super Prix, where we always thought that was going to be a bridge too far. And literally 2 weeks beforehand, we thought, are we really going to do this? And we did. And it went very well, Sarah. It went very, very well indeed. Obviously, it must have done because we picked up the award. So, yeah, and I think lessons learned from that, we're going to carry forward into the early part of this year.
So tell me, what's going on now?
So look, domestically, I think that the issue very much is about the planned return to racing. So post May the 17th, when hotels are open, I think everything is fine. I think that we're still going to have some restrictions. I think we probably still have to wear masks. There's going to be some form of COVID overlap going on, but we've got experience of dealing with that. The two thresholds really for me are the 12th of April, where you can then start to camp, and within the government legislation regulations, you can go into bed and breakfast or self-catering or whatever, which gives the ability for the marshals and for the officials, etc., to then get to the meeting, which are integral to run a meeting. And then the second threshold is the 17th of May, when we get into the hotels being open. So there is a proportion, as you will know, of people that will have their motorhomes and they will camp on site, whatever. And then there's a bit of a possibly proportion of people that will look for some form of accommodation elsewhere. So that's we've got a meeting right smack bang in the middle of that. So we're post the 12th of April. So we've got all that camping allowed on site, yes. But before the 17th of May. So that's exercising us again in terms of, am I going to get critical mass, sufficient volumes to make that meeting viable? But indications look good. I suppose if you're talking Boris-wise, the European issue is Carnet, of course, and you have to look at it and break it down, I suppose, into the component parts. For something like our international series of HF2, a 6-month carnet will embrace all of those events. Roughly speaking, very roughly speaking, 100 k's worth of car, your carnet is going to cost you for 6 months somewhere around about £800. So that will probably add a couple of £100 per event, which is doable for many. Yeah. That's not going to be a barrier. Take Spa 6 hour, where you're going over for a single race perhaps, where your carnet is going to be probably as much money again as your entry fee. Now that I think is an issue, and we have to look at ways of understanding that more and lobbying through MS UK to get that resolved. Our European colleagues have carnet, but it is much cheaper to come to the UK than go out of it. But then, as people are saying, there is a silver lining in carnet, and that being that it will encourage British motorsport, and we will stay at home. And so, in many ways, from a promoter or a club perspective, actually bringing everybody into the UK could be a benefit. But we'll wait and see.
Going back to the first event for the HSCC, how is it all going to work this time round?
Well, I think at MS UK is still, in fact, we just got off a race committee and we've been talking about some of those elements. So I think that the online declarations are going to remain. I think that is a good thing, because it certainly means that, as you know, having to go and sign on and all of the other bits that expose yourself, as it were, into those areas where a lot of people mixing because of COVID was done away with. So that was brought in, and that's been a benefit. In terms of scrutineering, I think that they are going to try to continue with scrutineering in terms of self-declaration, etc. Again, which again I think is a good thing for competitors, because it cuts down the amount of time that you spend, maybe wandering around looking for a scrutineer. And on the other hand, of course, we have to make sure that safety is still paramount. So in that sense, I think there's a good balance. So I think some of the things that have been brought in, like Zoom, I mean, we've learned to work in a different world, haven't we? And so online briefings, all of this online work that's come about, but through COVID by necessity, I think we'll see benefits going forward for some years to come. In fact, it's accelerated probably where we want it to be in general terms in motorsport by many, many years. I'm positive that we will see, after a period of time, we will start to see some sense in this, in the sense of that, we are not exporting goods, are we? If we're taking out a tool chest full of tools and a race car, we're not exporting it. We're going to take it out for a weekend and we're going to bring it back. And I think that common sense has to prevail, Sarah, on that.
Having asked those questions to the right people, they've said we're a long way down the list of people asking for amendments. So I can understand that too.
Yeah, I think we are, and I think that's a fair comment. Yes, motorsport is very important to those people in the industry, and of course it does bring in a huge amount of money. But in comparison to other elements or areas, it probably pales into insignificance. So I think it's right. But yes, sometime downstream, I'm sure that common sense will prevail.
So tell us a little bit, just before you go, about the ethos of the HSCC. Who do you attract? What are the most popular series? And what's new for 2021?
You well know we've been in existence since 1966. Our first race at Castle Combe, was won with a D-type Jaguar, and we've continued to go year on year on year. It's a club. We're not a promoter of events. We're a club. Although I think that there is a change in the market about a club versus a promoter of events, but we still have that club ethos. We still have our members who are very, very important. We're not going out to try and encourage people from other areas. We tend to concentrate on our core membership and try to give them the best experience that they can get. Invariably we do. There are occasions that we don't, of course, but that general ethos seems to be one of the major strengths of the HSCC. I think we are also purely historic. I've changed it slightly from pure historic to purely historic, because what is a pure historic vehicle? And I think there's a lot of debate over that. But we don't mix our paddocks with more modern cars. So you still have that period feeling, I think, when you come to the HSCC. We don't invest in hospitality. That's a model that some clubs have. That doesn't necessarily work for us. We try to make sure that we give, as I said, everybody the best user experience at the right price. And that's getting very difficult, Sarah, because of the costs that are levied against us, but we're still managing to do that. We're a non-for-profit organisation as well, so all I need to do is make sure that we break even. And that is, again, is extremely helpful against the business backdrop that some of the clubs are finding themselves in. What's new? Well, excitingly, we're starting a new 80s series because people are getting older, and as we keep on saying, if you go back to my analogy of 1966, what was 10 years old in 1966, the D-type Jaguar that won, 10 years old in 1966, now what are we racing? So there are a new generation of people with a disposable income who want to go motor racing, who don't want to drive a Jaguar E-Type or don't want to drive, a 70s road sport or what have you. They would like to see something a little bit more modern from perhaps their youth. So 80s road sports, that's what we're bringing in. Thunder Sports has taken off, as you can see. So our second year of the Classic this year with Thunder Sports, huge interest in that series. Historic Formula 2 going from strength to strength, Formula 4 2000, Formula 4 going from strength to strength. So our mix of open wheel and closed wheel series seems to be, what people want to go to. And I think one of the major planks of our popularity is our driving standards. We can have a debate about that, an individual debate at the end of each race. But generally speaking, people respect each other on circuit, which is incredibly important, both from a safety perspective and for when you're racing valuable cars. So we try more often or not, to impose quite strict driving standards, knowing that will benefit us, in the longer term.
Yeah, well, I think it's a huge grid, the huge amount of grids you've got going there. 16 championships, you've got 6 rounds in Europe. It's very effective racing, and it's a great atmosphere. So we wish you all the luck for 2021.
Well, great. I mean, I would love to see you back as well, Sarah. And of course, and who knows, we might get Tour Britannia off its feet again, because I think that's when we first met, and that was a brilliant event. So who knows, we might do something.